Does it work if I lock it? Well, this might be dumb. Okay. All right, everybody. Good morning. Thanks for coming. Paul, thanks for joining us. This is my wisdom text discussion. It's an open forum at all times. I will present some ideas from some ancient testimony that's lesser heard from around the world, and it's completely secular in judgment, but of course we're going to touch upon some high ideas, so as all ancient texts do. So anyways, today I have a really cool little thing that I stumbled upon. It's called the Gospel of Thomas. So in the canon of the church, Thomas is one of the 12 apostles. He's known as Thomas the Doubter because he was doubtful of Christ's resurrection. And I think that all ancient texts have a similar notion. Anything that survived that was mystic or relevant to society, I think that the same great ideas exist among all societies. So this is an idea known by a philosopher named Valentinius as pleroma. I like to think of it as the idea of constance or constancy, just a continuous lineage of the same experiences and the same thought. Hopefully more and more of us can grasp some ideas of wisdom, and the more that we all kind of embody these great ideas, the greater the world becomes, the more authentic it becomes. And so it's not that we're here to instantly just validate ourselves and become superhuman, but the more that we spend time talking about some good ideas, the more we bring them into reality, the more reality realizes itself at a higher stage of being through us as the vessels. This text was found in 1948 in a place in Egypt called Nag Hammadi. Coptic Egypt was one of the birthplaces of monasticism in the church, like monks, and a huge place of practice for Christianity specifically. And so, of course, in all the disputes amidst the Christian church about canon or what was legitimate testimony, this is obviously up for testimony as everything else is. Whether or not Thomas, the person we see as Thomas, wrote this, some people say no, some people say yes. It has a lot of correlation to the traditional synodic gospels, but the thing that I like with this text is that it doesn't matter who said it. It doesn't matter who said it, if it was Thomas or not, because there's wisdom within it if we choose to look for it, and that's how it all is. We all have something to share. We all have something to offer to everybody else unless we're afraid to speak authentically. And so for each of us, the way that we say it is how it's supposed to be said, because we're the only one that could say it as such. And so as long as the idea is valid in your mind and has some significance, if we choose to speak it, somebody along the way is probably going to care about it. It's going to mean something to them. So I found a lot of wisdom in this text. I don't know if it's Thomas. Thomas, the author that we assume is Thomas, is quoting Jesus himself in this text. Who knows if it's actually Jesus? Who knows if it was two guys that one thought one was Jesus, the other guy thought he was Thomas, and they were walking around actually lying to each other? Who knows if it's just made up in history? But in my mind, it doesn't matter because there's some good stuff in here, and it's the essence of the intention is where the significance lies. So it doesn't matter who exactly said it. So we're going to work through 3 different quotes today. This is the longest one, so I apologize for how much is on this tab. But this is the first piece. There's, I think, 114 lines in this gospel attributed to Jesus' speech himself. And so in the first part that I'm going to show you guys, there's a quick quote where the disciples say, "When will the kingdom come?" Of course, kingdom, as we look for it, as we look towards it, is not necessarily like a place of paradise. For most of us, outside of like a completely like devout, literal translation of the Bible, we would think of kingdom as a land of revelation or state or being, a place of significance. And so the disciples say, "When will the kingdom come? When will I be delivered to a place of clarity? When will I understand the way of the universe? When will it make sense to me? When will I be saved from the terrors and tribulations of the human experience?" And Jesus replies, "It will not come by waiting for it. It will not be a matter of saying, 'Here it is,' or 'There it is.' Rather, the kingdom of the Father is spread upon the earth, and men do not see it." course, this is not just men, women too. So Jesus is saying we're not just awaiting a time to be gifted with something cherishable. That's not what experience is about. That's not what the idea. You can have an idea of maybe some eternal paradise, but there is, for all of us as human beings, there is an eternal opportunity of progress here in the physical realm, because it is all that we have is this physical reality that we can prove to ourselves as individuals as being legitimate. And so Jesus is saying, don't wait for something to change. Don't wait for clarity. Clarity is out there for you to aspire towards. Clarity is rooted in the opportunity present in experience, from frustration to glory to triumph to failure. The land of the earth, the land of opportunity, the land of provision, not of a gift, but of chance, is the kingdom. If revelation, if a place of paradise or the true kingdom is a place like of eternal knowing, to be graced with an understanding of the idea of what maybe like a creator deity would have, or omnipotence, that progression towards gnosis or knowing would come from us understanding ourselves and our experience and finding grace, because we, in the Christian analogs there, the whole discussion is about the Father providing grace. Always with judgment, there is grace. Grace follows. So we have like the fall of the ego, the fall into a frustrated stance. We fall into emotional holes. But then with grace, which is an act, then we can pull ourselves out of it, just as we are told, or you might be told, that God or a creator would give you grace. Grace is something that we practice as well. And so we look to this idea of like this eternal paradise, this ideal state, when reality is that the reality that we at least all can individually perceive is that we do have this state to practice grace, to embody the virtues that we see as being heroic. We might have this vision of perfection in our head, but this is the realm to embody that perfection. So Jesus is saying, don't just wait for perfect. Be perfect now, and perfect isn't actually perfect. It's progressed towards being what you believe you should be, to actually act with faith that the way you feel matters. But faith itself implies action. Trust and faith are different. Faith implies that you're actually going to act with agency, believing in yourself and believing that you're validated by your intuition. In the land of opportunity, though, we face obstacle, and we face what we see as transgressions against our own will. We see things that might frustrate us in the moment as emotional beings. Jesus is saying, when you make the two one, you will become the sons of man. And when you say, mountain, move away, it will move away. When you make the two one, you will become the sons of man. And when you say, mountain, move away, it will move away. The mountain has a couple frequent uses as a symbol. It can be ascension, but more often than not, it's obstacle for traversing a path or getting to a destination. So when you say move away, it will move away. So you'll have the ability to dissipate an obstacle, the greatest obstacle. In any voyage, the greatest obstacle will be a giant rock in your way that's huge. And the way you do that is when you make the two one. And you will become the sons of man. Of course, the sons of man is the idea of a perfected being. It's the idea of a being with embodying grace, and a being that's not decimated by an obstacle. Her ego is not shattered. Her faith is not shattered by an obstacle, because the two become one. The two here are you and the obstacle, you and the mountain. The mountain is an obstacle for who? The person that takes it personally. But what happens if that obstacle isn't separate from you? What if you are part of that obstacle? What if that obstacle is part of you? What if your path is greater than just you, and you perceive things from a state that you recognize that you are part of one continuous experience, that every moment of your way, every part of your path, every obstacle or easement is simply just piece of you and your lineage of experience that's going to define who you are and what you're going to provide to experience, just as experience has provided for you. When we catalog ourselves as being separate, when we take offense and we find ourselves frustrated by an obstacle, we're separating ourselves and we're not understanding that we are part of this one continuous nature. There's no discontinuity between experience. And so when we make the two one and we see that mountain not as something standing against us, but together being part of this experience, there can't be frustration. And that's the greatest practice of grace. It's a step towards a higher state of appreciation. And so Jesus is saying, if you want to get rid of this obstacle, the mountain's not going to disappear, but the mountain as an obstacle will go away. And what happens if you approach an obstacle pissed off at it? You're going to go at it with a chip on your shoulder. And there's great obstacles in our life. There's immense grief. There's physical, horrors. There's horrible things that we see as horrible, but the true highest sense of being is to have grace to recognize that anything in your way, anything that is your way, is the way it's supposed to be, because it's the opportunity to become who you are supposed to become, who you are able to become. There's no other way to become who you are except for the opportunities presented to you and your agency through them. That is the only way that we become who we are. We don't just wake up a completed individual. We have potential, and then the Father or the universe or nature provides us with opportunity. The world, we have a land of opportunity around us, and it's up to us to become who we're supposed to become. But the things in our way are not separate from us. They are our way. We are that way. And that's a much higher state of being. We suffer because we choose to hold those things against us.
Yeah.
We choose to push things away and say, that's not me, that's not mine.
Yeah.
That itself is the basis of dissonance,
Yeah.
because you're the one enforcing that. The other idea here is the sons of man. Who's supposed to be more improved, the parent or the child? What is the ideal of future generations? You're supposed to provide a better, more fulfilling experience. The child is supposed to have greater ability. So the sons of man, the reason, one of the symbology of Jesus as a figure is the son, because it's the next lineage, the more ideal individual. That's why the son of man. It's the perfected, the better version. The practice of grace is letting go of your resentment or frustrations or attachment to judgments. We hold ourselves to judgments of our action here, our behavior here, what we might do in the future, what my time is spent doing right now. Those are just judgments that we conceive. Those are constructs. How does the world judge you for stomping around your house? Does the universe judge you for peeing in the yard? No, it's what you're doing. There's one specific lineage of experience that everybody operates in. There's no wrong way. There's nothing wrong, because there's no other alternative. There is one lineage of experience that we perceive, albeit if you believe in multiple universes or something like that. But so how could there be something wrong? As soon as you say, no, that action was wrong, you're judging from a state of omnipotence, as if you know more. But you don't know more. All you know is what you got. All you know is that there's one way forward. And so grace is letting go of any attachment, letting go of anxieties, or really it's self-judgment most of the time. And so it's not that we have to conquer maybe some sort of fragility in our mind. Grace is the highest tool. That's why it's the one that's preached in all the Gospels of every great myth, because it's simply just letting go and finding yourself in the moment and validating yourself and just having faith that it's okay, and that in the next moment, if I found myself frustrated by that, then I can act differently going forward. But I'm not wrong for spending time acting that way. I'm not wrong, because how would I know to do different were it not for the attachment I felt in that previous moment? You can never have truly a fair regret, because how would you have known to do any different in the past? You didn't know. The reason that you feel different now is because you know you screwed up, or you feel like you screwed up. So you can change going forward. That's the process of edification, of reaching for a higher version of yourself. If you were to step back in time and have a moment of regret and be offered it again, but be in the same headspace as you were the original time, you would do the exact same thing every single time. There'd be no way to change it because it's a culmination of every experience, predisposition, judgment, maybe chemical balance or emotional balance. Every variable from internal or external is the reason you acted the way you did. Were you to go back to that exact same state, it would be the exact same situation. You would have the exact same response. Regrets are unfair. Grace allows you to move forward because it allows you to appreciate what you did as knowing that it is the way forward. No longer are these two ideas of your past self and your current self separate. No longer are they two. No longer is this an obstacle to self-belief, self-affirmation, self-pride. Becoming one with that, becoming one with judgment of yourself, but having grace with it, is what lets you go forward, because then you can approach everything you are. You can see yourself without whipping yourself, without frustrating yourself. You can move forward recognizing that the reason that you are now is because of what happened in the past. It says, blessed are those who have been persecuted within themselves, for it is they who have truly come to know the Father, or the way, or I like the way here is the Father, the provider. Okay, it's they who understand the world. Blessed are they who have persecuted within themselves, cast judgment. Blessed are they who have been persecuted within themselves, for it is they who have truly come to know the Father. This is the only way to understand the high sense of grace. Just like you were saying, Mom, earlier, the kingdom is the reflection, and that's why we have this embodiment here in the physical world to work our way through the terrors and the tremors. That's the same way with grace, the same way with judgment. That's exactly what Jesus is saying here. When we persecute within ourselves, when we cast judgment, we have fear of future failures, we have regret of past, we have hardship internally. That is literally the only way to understand, to come to the revelation of the hand of grace, the beckoning hand of deliverance, of paradise. Okay, that is the state of grace. But the only way that you could understand that, to embody it as part of this experience and to share that, is to have done it within yourself, within your own experience. Hardship, eternal struggle is the only way to understand it. You don't know anything until you've done it. You don't know anything until you experience it, outside of maybe like the knowledge or instinct of needing food. But as a higher level, more considerate entity, which humans tend to be compared to most other creatures, we're more considerate, we're more self-reflective. That's the stage we're at on the spectrum of cognitive function. To know something and to be considerate of it takes us to experience it. For anyone to perceive what the Gospels are talking about, or what any mythology, or what any person talking about the approach of the highest order of being, we can all say whatever the hell we want to say. You can say as many words as you want, but the words have to relate to personal experience. And that personal experience, the most revealing experience, is internal frustration. Judgment is what it really is, internal judgment. Because the way that you see through it is the practice of grace. But so many people, so many of us, so often in our own lives as individuals, everybody, probably everybody alive ever, except for maybe this one person or a few messiahs throughout history, who knows, keep repeating judgment. And that's how it's supposed to be, because we're not perfect. We're supposed to find ourselves frustrated and then overcoming it, frustrated and overcoming it cyclically, because everything else is cyclic, and we are something as a part of this giant experience. We have night and day, we have night and day, we have darkness and revelation, darkness and revelation. That seems to be the way that we process our own experiences as people. And so when we find ourselves really frustrated and we're questioning, well, maybe the answer is to let go, because that's the way everything else is. A tiger's not wrong for killing whatever tigers kill. I don't know what tigers kill. A lion is not wrong. Nature has grace for the lion. There's no judgment from the lion. And there's no judgment from the gazelle for getting eaten. It's just how it is. And that's the idea of grace, to let go of the attachment, the cataloging of good and bad, because how would it be fair to truly say that something is good or bad? It just is. The way isn't going to be some like perfect, like, okay, you're going to go up here 20 yards and then take a left. Like, it's not going to be word for word. The whole idea is agency. Like, the way reveals itself through action. Nothing comes from purely considerate. It takes experience for the next thought to pop into your head. If you want something new, you have to find yourself doing something new. So if we just find ourselves sitting and saying, show me the way, show me the way, show me the way is not going to present itself to a stagnant body. Stagnancy is death. Stagnancy is not new. There's no ability to generate a perceived clairvoyance, because there's nothing new. There's no new stimuli. So you go out into the world, you just start taking action, then you start finding new opportunities that present themselves to you, because new opportunity doesn't come to somebody not doing anything. Opportunity awaits for us to go grasp. And so the way reveals itself through when you start going out. You can be considerate and reflective, like we were saying, to find grace with yourself, to learn about who you are, to figure out what virtues are worth maintaining going forward. Like, that's what the tests and tribulations of experience give you. They give you moments to filter off the virtues that aren't going to be useful in the future, and for you to have the virtues of yourself that you're proud of, that are true to you because they stood the test of time. And so as you go forward into the next new experience, having grace and reflecting, being proud of what's happened, being okay with it, and you go forward, then you have a renewed individual of higher virtue, literally like a phoenix, or like the idea of like a resurrection. You step into the next moment, like night comes and then the sun rises again. You're brand new, you got energy, and then it's up to you to go and act, because the person that you are in the next moment, clear of judgment, embodying more pride in the virtues you are, that person is going to act differently to the experiences around you. So the way is to have grace, because then when you go forward, you're new, and a new person gets new opportunities. They get new agency into those new opportunities, and that is literally the way forward. But if we go into each new moment bound by a frustration, or bound by like a rigidity, a geometry that like that person forced themselves into, so that person that goes into every experience completely bound to who they are, no chance for change. So nothing's going to change for them, because they're not going to change. Nothing changes you, you change yourself. And because you are the one in control. You're the vessel. You are the pilot of the boat. The boat will just get knocked around until you start to drive it. And so if you drive it, willing to take on new, willing to be different, willing to change, willing to say, yeah, that sack of flowers, hold my boat down, I'm going to get rid of it. Or like, yeah, I had this giant fish on the side that I caught, but I need to let go of it to really bear these waves and drive where I want to go and navigate successfully. Once you start letting go of the weight that frustrates you, now you go forward with a lot more agency, a lot more potential to maneuver, maybe even go farther than you thought you could before. And so from one standpoint, from where we are right now, even looking to the future, like, you have no idea what's going to happen. And so even casting an expectation, even if it's a really good one, you're still limiting yourself if you're progressing towards an idea as an exact state of satisfaction. Because the you in the next moment is probably worth a much higher dream. Because the more we start to dissipate these bad ideas, these judgments, the more potential we start to fulfill, the more of our own potential we start to fulfill, and the greater the horizon is. But if we say, like, right now, my dream is this, and I'm not going to be satisfied until I reach that, well, what if I start working that way, and then the version of me that gets there is like, man, I'm not satisfied by any of this, but I have what I thought would satisfy me before. Well, shoot, now I'm frustrated because I know I limited myself. Certainty is the great crux of person, because you don't know anything. You don't know what the past was. You don't know any of the details. You know your own experience, and you have no idea what the future holds. Certainty is a myth. It's an attachment that we have. Even our judgment, when we judge, say I have a regret and a judgment right now, and I'm like, man, I'm certain that I sucked back then. What happens if I go forward, I have a little more grace with myself, and then when I reflect on it again, I recognize that there's more going on. but I was certain that I sucked. And now I'm not certain that I sucked anymore, and I just collapsed that idea of myself. And now I have to go through this whole other process of figuring out where I went wrong, and being maybe frustrated with myself for being wrong about myself. And certainty just gives you this never-ending cycle of being wrong about what you thought, and then in the next moment finding something that you're uncertain of. And certainty is what we tend to. It's like the animalistic side of us because it's safe. But what certainty is it's also safe because there's nothing new going on. Certainty is like the state of death, because in certainty there is no chance for change, because change is uncertain, but everything changes. And so when we attach ourselves to certainty, you're literally attaching yourself to death. You're attaching yourself to the idea of death. You're saying, I'm no longer going to experience. Well, if you're done experiencing new, then you have nothing to do here. Finding comfort in the uncomfortable is what life's about. Being okay with uncertainty, not being attached to the necessity to have a black and white answer, because nothing is black and white. Everything exists on some spectrum of experience. You have to will yourself to find appreciation for the unknown. That's the point. You don't know what might await you, but certainty is boring. Certainty is hubris. But we have to will ourselves to find an appreciation for it, because it makes us excited. Like if every new day we can wake up and go, oh man, another one. You know, like, oh man, a new experience, because it is a new experience. Oh man. Or we can say, awesome, what's going to happen? Yeah. It doesn't have to be world changing, but it is world changing. Every moment is. But yeah, if you wake up and you go, oh man, another day. And it's fine to be there. That's where we're supposed to be if we are there. But grace is how you do it. And when uncertainty is no longer something separate from you, and you recognize that, oh, even myself is uncertain because, oh, I'm not happy about my situation. There's some part that I feel disillusioned about or I feel dissonant from. Well, maybe it's because we're consistently attaching ourselves to a notion of certainty as a person, too. Every day you have the chance to be different. Being different doesn't remove you from being you. It allows you to progress towards the next version of you. Are you satisfied that you're not the same individual you were when you were 3 years old? I'm proud that I'm not the same person I was when I was 3. I'm proud that I changed. Same thing tomorrow. I hope I'm different tomorrow. That's what's being here. Because I'm not separate. Even though I view those two things in the world, just like that previous text talked about the realm of the earth being the reflection of maybe an idealistic state of heaven or something. They're only separate in our own consideration, and that's fine as a moment of reflection. But as we embody them going forward, and we have more grace, which also patience is a huge part of that, then we become much more fluid, much more in control of emotions and our attachment and our judgment live in experience as we start to recognize that it's all okay. Yeah, the effort, the material version of consistency isn't the same action. It's like, are you spending time consistently trying? If you care, or you are consistent in your agency, your personal agency, that's what you're consistent of. But that agency doesn't mean the act itself. You know, what is the thing that is offered to you now if you're injured? Like, what's the offering? To improve and learn about yourself so that you can be more resilient in the future anyways. Thanks for coming, everybody. That's all I got.